I'd like to talk about the origins of the virus. At first it was believed that it came from animals. The bats got the blame, then the domestic animals. Then we thought that ice melting thawed a lot of viruses, so it might come from there. Now we hear that the invasion of the forests, like the Amazon, could unleash a great number of viruses on us. Suddenly we discover that people on some uninhabited islands out of bats' reach are still contracting the virus. Even the great scientific minds are puzzled. So my question is,
where did it come from?
Where from?
Out of thin air. Out of nothing. Really, not even air. Nothing at all. Out of us, we people are the culprits of the virus. Why? Because when we, in the process of our growing egoism, treat each other with more and more neglect and rejection, we thereby cause these negative forces of nature to stimulate such compositions called viruses.
So the virus is brought on by our thoughts and actions that are directed against someone, against another person?
Yes, absolutely. The forces that we generate create such compounds of elementary matter, which we call viruses.
So it follows that scientists are not going to find the right antidote.
The antidote will develop along the way as you start treating each other well. Then there will be no more viruses. Even those already present will disappear. One will neutralize the other.
But for the scientists...
For the scientists, this is too elevated.
Yes, too elevated.
Because it operates on a level of desires, aspirations, relations, what the scientists cannot grasp.
They work on the level of laboratories.
They work on the level of matter.
Matter, yes.
While this here is the realm of fine matter, desire, love, hate, fear, and so on.
What's your advice now? Should we delve into the origins of the virus?
If we don't look into it, we will have no idea what we're dealing with. But here we come to a level where we rise from the level of matter to the next degree, to desires, to thoughts, to relationships. That is, to fine matter.
Is that where viruses and antidotes are conceived?
Absolutely.
Everything is there?
Everything. The entire matter is conceived there.
So in essence, you're entering the control room,
yes,
right?
Yes, of course.
That controls our world?
Certainly, why not? It's the thought.
Everything starts in the thought?
Of course. Thought gave birth to everything, to the whole of nature. First, there was a word.
Well, this way we nullify all the corporeal science.
We're not nullifying it. It's fully valid at its level.
How so? They can't find an antidote. Not now, anyway.
They can't find it on their level.
On theirs, true.
So what can we do?
So the doctor today has to become a sage?
Rather, today's sage can be a doctor.
Oh, today's sage can be a doctor?
Don't expect it from a doctor.
Or the doctor should understand that the problem is on a whole new level.
A whole new degree, yes. He has to work on his level, the earthly level. There will be a second and third wave, which will spread out everywhere, and we'll begin to see that everything depends only on our thoughts, on our feelings, on our relations with each other.
What's your main advice?
Don't run from it to some faraway land.
Not to hide anywhere and help?
It won't help. Only one thing will. Good thoughts about others.
This is a fairly simple advice for a person. It's quite difficult to execute, but essentially very simple. It's telling us to think well about others. This is what we've been taught in kindergarten and in school.
We were taught well. If only we could integrate it into ourselves, to internalize it.
What's the secret here? There is something more to it than thinking well about others. What is it?
Our thoughts control the world.
But can I think well of others?
No.
You see?
You have to learn too.
So here lies the secret.
Yes, of course, as if you knew that there's a catch.
I could tell, yes.
A kind of catch.
Yes.
There is.
I want to know more, so tell us, what kind of secret is there? I'm not capable of thinking well about others. I can't.
You cannot, and this is done on purpose, because the way you relate to others depends on your train of thought, your desire, connection with others, and the mutual work between you. In general, there are many such conditions that you have to foster within yourself, in your society, even in a small group.
So until we foster it, we'll be susceptible to viruses?
Yes, not only to this one.
Can we foster it in a short period of time? We're faced with lots of illnesses.
It makes no difference that there's illness. Hordes of viruses are approaching us.
Well, you do know that people don't like those who foretell bad things.
They get burned at the stakes, I know.
Indeed, they were burned. Perhaps you can add something positive to it, even a bit? In what period of time can we start getting rid of it?
We can reduce its harmful effect. We can somewhat delay the problems associated with it until we get wiser. But it depends on how much we already start trying to make sure that we perceive the viruses correctly, so that they serve to guide us to the correct goal.
So this is the beginning of the cure, the direction that they are leading us in.
Yes, let's understand correctly their presence among us.
So what should I understand? What's the first thing?
I have to realize that it is here for me, because of me, for my benefit.
Not against me?
Nothing in nature is against a person. Nothing. Everything is done to make us grow, become wiser, change a little, become better toward each other and the whole of nature.
So what if I start acquiring this understanding?
Then you become healthy. You simply feel yourself physically, ethically, and emotionally well.
And if I understand this, what's my next step? Now I understand this. Let's say I want to understand this, doing all that I can.
By doing so, we enter a whole new level of interaction and perception of nature. In other words, our whole life is brought up to this level, you know. That is, in our thoughts, our interactions, whether positive or negative. There is nothing in nature except a plus and a minus that interact. And the same is true for us. We will be able to control our thoughts and our desires. So simple.
So I enter the level of thoughts with no words. I don't have to say anything.
No words. Nothing physical at all. We suddenly find ourselves in a vast space that is completely filled with pluses and minuses. Such particles, thoughts, and feelings.
So there are minuses there? It's not only filled with goodness and love?
There can be no plus without a minus.
There can't be. So there must be a minus.
Of course.
A minus, as you say, is my resistance of the plus. Is that so?
Yes, but it must exist. Thus we know from Kabbalah, we don't annul our egoism. We only use it correctly.
So I realize that I'm an egoist, right? So I work on using it correctly?
Indeed. Everything remains as is. I don't interfere with nature or anything at all.
Meaning not to harm others, but only to do good.
Yes. I discover this giant computer in which we exist and begin interacting with it through my thoughts and desires. And everyone else does the same. We all engage in the working of this machine and bring it to the state of total balance, so that it will reveal to us the basic equation of the universe, that all that exists in there is for the sole purpose of revealing happiness.
Happiness.
Yes.
You always say that the world of happiness is ready for us, we only have to reveal it.
We spoke of that too.
What should we do? How much should be said and reinforced? How long are you willing to keep saying it over and over, keep coming back to it?
As long as I live, the universe shall shine. No way around it.
Meaning that you'll always find the stamina to go on?
For as long as I can speak.